Hi, everybody. Tim Nudd here with Muse by Clio, and thanks for joining me for our Tampa Bay panel today. This will be cool. Tampa Pro Teams Champion Creativity, sponsored by DUNN and Company. So it's a pretty good time to be a sports marketer in Tampa these days, with the Buccaneers being the reigning Super Bowl champions and the Lightning being the defending Stanley Cup winners. So excited to explore the creative marketing being done by these two great teams today. With my panelists, Brittany Austin, Senior Director of Brand and Content Marketing at the Lightning, and Nikki Donofrio, VP of Marketing, Events, and Entertainment for the Buccaneers. Welcome to you both.
Thank you.
Hi, Tim. Glad to be here.
Good to be with you guys. So I have an opening question for both of you, which is, before we look at the work that you've been doing, I'd love to hear what it's like working for a championship franchise. It must be a great feeling to walk in every day and be part of such a winning program. Brittany, what's that experience been like for you?
It's been very rewarding. I've actually worked for the Lightning. This is my 13th season. So 11 of those first 12 years did not include winning Stanley Cup. So to win two in the last 10 months has been pretty wild. And so there's been a full brand transformation that this team has really been through. And it's very rewarding to be able to celebrate with so many people that have been a part of building this brand in the community and celebrate it with fans. And so, plus we get to have a lot of fun. Nikki and I laughed about the last conversation we were having together was about taking trophies around town. And when you get to do that, we like to say that the beers are colder and the hot dogs are warmer when you're winning. And so certainly a really fun time to be a part of Tampa Bay.
Yeah. Nikki, it must be great time for the Bucs too.
Yeah, I would echo that. I mean, it's an unbelievable feeling. I mean, winning is always fun, right? But the emotions are running high, and the stress is a little high too as you're going through when we went through the playoffs and then we win the NFC championship and then onto the Super Bowl. There's just this surreal feeling of, oh my gosh, we made it, and I can't believe we're here, and we're happy to be here, but we want to win. So, then when we won. Just that camaraderie with each other on the team, the unity with Tampa Bay, all of that is just, it's, constant. It's just a different level of excitement. It's a different level throughout the community. I mean, everybody is a fan of the Lightning or the Bucs, and it goes on and on for months. So it's that excitement. It just stays with you, and it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun to win, like I said.
No. Keeping fans engaged during COVID, obviously, had been a huge challenge across all of sports. Brittany, tell us about the Be the Distant Thunder campaign that you guys did. I know you did some really cool things to keep fans engaged.
We did. We had a lot of fun with this one. This is actually an evolution of our Be the Thunder tagline, which we've had for many years. So this is a statement that we have and a challenge we've issued to our fans for the last several years, and that has meant the concept of actually making noise and being literally in the stands, being that kind of offset to the Lightning, but has also been a challenge to be more than just that. And so as we went into a pause, didn't have any idea what live sports were going to look like, and then began to think about the reality of competing in an NHL bubble. So not only in COVID where you couldn't be together, but the team was over 1,000 miles away in Toronto. We said, how does this evolve, and how do we talk to our fans to keep them engaged? And DUNN & Co is our creative agency, and started to talk to them about strategy and looking at how were consumers in COVID reacting to this pandemic. And honestly, people really got creative, right? I mean, all of a sudden they were doing happy hours on Zooms, which I think we all got pretty fatigued with after the onset. But we're doing things like drive-through birthday parades. So we really kind of saw, hey, this idea of social distancing doesn't necessarily mean social isolation. People were finding ways to connect and create community in non-traditional ways. And so as we started to drill down and kind of got to this idea of we want to talk to our fans about being a part but not absent. And that then evolved our creative line from Be the Thunder to Be the Distant Thunder, which we all kind of laughed. We're like, is this too obvious? Is this too obvious? Is this too easy? But made a lot of sense, and then evolved into this creative idea, which admittedly we caught lightning in a bottle, pun intended, in the sense that with COVID, all of these plexiglass barriers started popping up, right, in stores and separation. And our sport of hockey had glass already a part of our kind of world. And so we started to talk about this idea of these things that were in our system already that separated us. How could we flip it on its head and make this something that comes together? So we worked on an activation actually that evolved into a creative campaign where we invited our fans to come down to the arena and sign a piece of glass that was from our rink, writing messages of good luck and wishes to the team, then took that piece of glass, wrapped it up very carefully. I had nightmares about this thing breaking in process, and it traveled with the team to the NHL bubble where it was installed for the game. We obviously creative captured it, captured our players skating by and reading these messages, and it was really impactful because it was this physical kind of representation of the Thunder 1,000 miles in Toronto. And then we were able to build out creative campaign around it that included digital, social, TV creative and market. And then some extensions out even into, we pulled some of the fan signatures and ran billboards, digital billboards in Toronto with some of the fan messages on the route from the players' hotel to the arena, and then shared those on social where those fans are like, oh my gosh, like here's my message in Toronto to those fans, and really had a lot of success. And then on the flip side of it, was able to have players sign pieces of glass that then went into community places in Tampa Bay. We installed an Advent Health. So just this kind of synergy between this plexiglass barrier and kind of this idea that sometimes the things that separate us can bring us closer. So saw a lot of success with that. Was really a fun one. Took a lot of people to pull off one of those big ideas that you're not sure you can do, and it worked and was a great win for our community.
Yeah, really like that creative work. Such a cool concept, and you guys executed it wonderfully. Nikki, I would love to chat with you a little bit about obviously the arrival of Tom Brady was such a boost for the Bucs. Tell us a little bit about that from a marketing perspective, and then also a little bit about the Raise the Flags campaign that you guys did for the playoffs.
Sure. Yeah. When Tom Brady joined the team, I mean, we saw an immediate impact, with increased interest, national media, fans calling and, increasing our followers, increasing our social engagement. I mean, across all channels, there was a big spotlight on us. And, it was also a crazy time because he came late March, early April, and that's when COVID was really hitting. So, at the same time, we were launching new uniforms, which we thought was going to be the most exciting thing we were doing all year, which is launching new uniforms from a marketing perspective. And then, of course, Tom came, and then COVID hit. So we were planning last year at the time when Tom Brady joined that, we were planning for a full sellout and season and hoping that everything would, clear up within a few months and we would be able to have a normal fall. Of course, that didn't happen. But what we did see was that immediate impact. And then from a content perspective, we were able to engage with the fans in the off season or during the season as much as we could. And, have Tom Brady and the rest of the team create content, and that we could use that. We had some specific events that were just for season pass members that were virtual and that we used Zooms, and we had the players on those Zooms so that the fans could connect with the players. But we saw a huge impact, and I think it just lit a fire among everybody who they're fans of the Bucs, but people went out and got the jersey and bought more gear, and it just, it really excited the whole fan base.
Yeah.
Raise the Flags, our campaign really helped unite the fans as well. So last year was our second year of our campaign, and it had been really well seeded, I think, the year before. So we were perfectly positioned when Tom joined the team to, use that as a way for our fans to engage and unite behind Raise the Flags. When we weren't able to, we knew we weren't going to be able to have all the fans in the stands. We mailed every season ticket holder, every season ticket member a flag early in the season. We gave away flags through drive-through events. We put flag car magnets on cars, these drive-through events. And we had a distant way of engaging with fans where they could drive through. We'd have cheerleaders and Captain Fear and our Pirates waving and music playing, and kind of a party in the parking lot that didn't endanger anybody and nobody got out of their cars. And they were able to engage with our staff and engage with the Bucs in a different way. So when we clinched the playoffs, on social, then we asked everyone to raise the flags and show us how they raise the flags. So it was literally, you had people who had flags and literally raised them. They put them outside of their homes, outside of their schools, firehouses, on the side of buildings throughout Tampa. And then we had people who were able to just show us how they raise the flags through social by just wearing Bucs gear and standing out in front of their house with their family and waving and taking pictures and things like that. So, the campaign we were able to have, a response that on a social level, and then also, out in the community, the response was just phenomenal from fans, tons of celebrities, influencers, everybody kind of got behind the campaign. And like I said, I think because we had already seeded it a year, by the time we hit the playoffs, we were perfectly positioned for it to just blow up as a huge success.
Mm-hmm. Out of home and social, I'd love to hear a little bit about how important that is. I guess, first of all, out of home and activations. How important is it for a sports franchise to kind of be on the ground with its fans out in the community? Brittany?
I think it's critical. I think for us, it is the best way to meet and interact with new and different audiences. For us, and Nikki mentioned the sellouts too. It's like when you have limited access even to games at this point. I mean, we've had 200 plus straight sellouts. It's an opportunity for us to get our brand in front of people that maybe aren't at games all the time. That's true for social as well. But activations, both of us, I think, did the drive-through. We got creative during the pandemic and what does it look like to get things physically in people's hand and interact with them. In the first playoff run, we did socially distanced watch parties where it was like pods. It was like we were trying to do anything that we could to get creative to gather people. But for us, it's important brand extension because there's only so many people that you can fit in this building, right? We've even expanded into trying different types of events like Bolts Brew Fest we introduced a few years ago because it allows us to get in front of new audiences, expose them to the Lightning brand with the intention that they can then buy a single game ticket, but maybe aren't here all the time. And then obviously just the grassroots perspective of getting the city engaged. Like you mentioned the car flags and stuff. You can't drive around town right now without seeing people displaying their Tampa fandom. So for us, I think it's a pivotal part of what we do and an important part of our marketing mix.
Yeah. Okay. Is it the same for you, Nikki?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's paramount for us. Being active and present in the community is everything. We have street teams that go to festivals, events, parades, schools. We have pirates that go out into the community, cheerleaders, mascots. Obviously, a lot of that was a challenge during the past 18 months, but now we are getting back out there, especially at some of these larger events and as high school football games and things like that have started to come back. Last season, we launched home gating, where we would set up a tailgate outside of fans' homes and provide them everything they would need to a tailgate because they couldn't come see us live because of COVID. So we would show up at their house on the day before the game. We would set them up with everything they needed from trays of food to snacks to beer to, with some of our partners like Budweiser and Coke. And we provided a tailgate in their cornhole games, just a lot of fun photos and things like that. And that's something that was so popular with our fans that we brought it back for this season, and we're doing it for our away games this year. Okay. So that's something from COVID that actually, stuck, but that is a way for us to get out into the community and engage. And we were able to see lots and lots of season pass families and be safe and distant from them, but still, provide a really fun experience. After we won the Super Bowl, we took the Vince Lombardi Trophy on tour. We visited, hundreds of community partners. We reached out to thousands of people. We took photos, thousands of photos. And we really try to get out there as much as we possibly can.
Yeah, that's a nice asset to have for sure. Social media, I'd love to hear your strategies there, because to me, social is interesting because it's often used in a very transactional and sort of informational way, but it's also quite emotional too. So how do you balance that and like develop a voice in social that's engaging and fun, but also informative? Brittany, how do you guys handle that over at the Lightning?
Great question. I think our social strategy has evolved a lot in the last several years. I guess that's really the name of the game in social, is that it's ever changing. I think it used to be way more transactional and informational, and certain channels lend that way more now, but I think more than ever, especially as audiences get younger, they are looking for something different from teams. The younger audiences we're seeing oftentimes don't even have a team affinity. They're interested in athletes, right? So they might have not have a favorite team, but have favorite athletes that fall. And so for one of the things that we've kind of shifted and realized is we're no longer producing content on social for diehard fans only. It is a major shift into casual and non-fans. And so for us, how are we creating content that is allowing them to see more access, more personality behind our players? Hockey, interestingly enough, is a little bit more traditional, a little bit more team first. As the athletes are getting younger, they have grown up in social, so they're using it more, which is helping us, and we're having to ask less than we used to. But you can already see the generational change in some of our older players that do it less to the guys that are comfortable in it now. And so I think a big thing for us is how are we creating content on different platforms that speaks to the younger audiences? TikTok, Snapchat is very different than the Facebook and the Twitter. We still have to talk and produce content for Facebook and the avids that are there. But for us, it's been a lot about how do we differentiate by channel and content, and how are we giving access and personality to the things that you're saying. We had a lot of fun during the playoffs with Alex Killorn created a show called Doc Talk, where and this is another great thing for Tampa Bay, where he literally got on his jet ski and zipped around to his fellow teammates' house on Davis Island. It was around the same time that Tom Brady had come into town, so there was a lot of jokes about, can we zip up to Tom's house and interview him, which I don't think ever happened, but it's probably is very top on Killer's list. But it was a great opportunity. It was on Instagram Live. It showed player personalities. It showed because Killorn was kind of the interviewer, he had a great relationship naturally with his teammates. And so they were more engaged, and it was a huge hit. He sold a lot of t-shirts. We raised a lot of money from that. And so had a lot of good, but I think that's a big thing for us is how are we producing content that showcases player personality and not just this transactional informative way. And the Bucs have some great Tom Brady and Gronk content on that side that's come out too. So the athletes even are doing that together as well.
Yeah. Nikki, tell us about that.
Yeah, that's a lot of fun. I mean, broadly, our approach is to entertain our fans, bring them closer to the team, and then, through access, information, and, getting them the information and helping them to engage on a platform-specific way. So Tommy and Gronky is a show we launched last year. Year 2 this year, we've only released 1 episode so far, but it blew up. I mean, especially this year, because you get to see the players, out of the helmet, out of the pads and the uniforms, just sitting there having a chat like friends. Clearly you got to see this if you saw this last one, Tom and Gronk were wearing these awesome sunglasses, and just had a fun discussion. And it's just great. It's great content. It allows our fans to engage with our players, see a different side of their personality. And this last episode blew up. I mean, it was on Good Morning America, it was on the Today Show, and it's got millions and millions of views. So clearly fans are craving that. And I think the general public in general, as Brittany was saying, not just fans of the team, but people just want fun content. And so we saw, our increases in our followers just based on that episode alone. Yeah. On top of the content, then everything needs to be appropriate from an audience and function perspective. So, each platform, we try to design fun content, and, we use the different tools that each platform has to be able to optimize engagement and also eventually revenue on those platforms. So as they change, as Brittany said, our strategy needs to change and evolve with it. I mean, TikTok wasn't even here 2 years ago. So, for us, it's just about prioritizing those areas of focus and tactics on each platform, and then have a really good content plan that brings fans closer to the team.
Okay. I want to touch briefly on design as well. Design is, Nikki, you mentioned team uniforms. That's obviously a great design project. There's many areas in which design touches sports marketing. How important is design to both of your organizations, Brittany?
I think it's kind of the framework for everything that we do. There's a filter, kind of standards that we go through. For us, we're big fans of less is more, simple is complex, and how are we consistently and cleanly presenting our brand across all of our channels. For us, it's also been a unique way to subtly have nods back to the championship. For us last season, we had typography that was woven into our campaign that was reflective of engraving that you see on the Stanley Cup. So while we turned the page for a new season, we had nods back to the win. This year, uniquely starting as back-to-back champions, but also really, again, turning the page. We've got some banners that are woven into this season's campaign. So it also gives us a little bit of creativity and not having to overtly talk about some of the wins, but having some subtle ways to talk about it. But I think the biggest thing that's changed recently is the social space of having design look and feel that can have creativity, room for creativity and flexibility on all of these different channels that didn't used to exist. Gone are the days that you're just designing for print or just designing for out of home.
Right.
You've got to work across so many channels. And so how do we have a creative kit that can be flexible, but when you see it, you know it's Tampa Bay Lightning.
Mm-hmm. Do you guys have a holistic approach like that, Nikki?
Yeah, I mean, everything we do, we try to embody, sort of the spirit of Tampa Bay and have our brand personality come through in all of our creative. Our visual and design, it's really, beyond all else, it's really just bold. There's strength in the typography, richness of the color palette, highly defined photography where you can, see the sweat in the players' faces, in the studio and when they're on the field. You can see those beads of sweat, those types of like intensity and boldness we try to have come through. We do for our photography, we do, tight crops of players in action, that raw energy. So whether it's copy or it's text or if it's photography, we want that raw energy to come through, whether it's on the screen or whether it's in print on a page or whether it's the side of the side of our stadium on one of our tower walls. We try to have a look that tells the story of passion and intensity. And that's really where we focus with all of our campaigns and just the brand in general.
Okay. I'm also curious about franchises in the city, sort of how they feel about each other. Do you feel like you're competing for fan time and attention, or do you feel like, it's just each team's success sort of helps the other team? What's your thinking on that?
I think I was actually just looking at this recently. We have a lot of crossover. When you look at the numbers of teams that are, I think it's well over 50% when you look at, Bucs fans that are Lightning fans or Lightning fans that are Bucs fans. So to some degree, Tampa is a small market. It's not New York where there's, massive amounts, but I think that we've seen a lot of success. And what are the chances that we win in the middle of a pandemic? Back to back, and I think it's been really positive because the way my perspective is, it has put us in conversations that we wouldn't have been in if we hadn't have won. So, for instance, we won the Stanley Cup in the middle of the pandemic. Then Tom Brady is here and it's like, hey, our guys were at the Bucs game with the Stanley Cup. And it was like, no pressure here, right? Of like, it's your turn and vice versa, right? And so when the Bucs won the Super Bowl, we as an NHL team probably wouldn't have been in the conversation. However, because we had won, they win a Super Bowl and then we're in the conversation around Tampa Bay because the Lightning just won. And so for us, it's been vice versa. And then we won again. So now teams like, again, no pressure. It's like, the expectations in the market are like, okay, Rays, you're up, Bucs, you're up. And so the sentiment has been really positive. And so I think there's a phrase about, rising tides raise all ships. And I think that the affinity for and pride of the city has been a really positive thing for both of our groups.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. Just being at the stadium, having our players there and our players at the arena and your players at the stadium and bringing the Stanley Cup. When we showcased that last year with the Stanley Cup, the crowd just, the limited crowd that we had there, but they loved it. They just went crazy. Mm-hmm. And it's a lot of fun. It allows us to do some things kind of collaboratively too. We talked about it earlier. We collaborated on a trophy day where the Stanley Cup and the Vince Lombardi trophy had a little bit of a half day out in Tampa with photo opportunities. Tampa Mayor Jane Castor was involved and team executives from both teams were there. And we just had, we were able to really have fun with it and celebrate together as Team Tampa Bay.
Nice.
Yeah. I think the joint the connection to amongst our athletes has been really fun. And as we talk about digital and social, that's been huge for both of our teams in terms of them interacting with each other. And so, if it's our athletes that are then interacting with something on their channels, maybe it's football fans that haven't been exposed to NHL or vice versa. I think that Nikita Kucherov and Andrei Vasilevsky were in Russia with the cup recently, and they recreated the TikTok that Bronk and Grady did when they first got here. And so there's been some really fun things that have just like made Tampa Bay fans just go crazy. So it's been really fun to watch that too.
That's great.
Yeah.
All right. Well, my last question is really just about, going to market right now as defending champions. In the Lightning's case, back to back, how does that affect how you're going to market? How much do you look back and how much do you look forward, Brittany?
Great question. For us, also, our hockey ops is very adamant that it is a new year and it is a new team and it is a new mission. And so we support that message, but we're kicking off our season this year with a seeding campaign called Back to Back Together Again. A little bit of a play and a nod on back-to-back championships, but celebrating what hopefully is looking like a normal year finally. And so for us, kind of kicking off the season with an acknowledgement to the win, but also turning the page. For us, it's about how do we leverage back-to-back championships to gain new followers? Because our opinion is if not now, then when? If you are not a Lightning fan already, then when will you be? And so how do we find ways to leverage that going into a new season and kind of thinking through that messaging across all of our platforms to kind of leverage the success?
Okay. Nikki, challenges and opportunities of being champions?
Yeah, so we had obviously, we after 50 years were the first team to win or to play in their home stadium and to win in their home stadium, which was, again, during COVID, the whole thing is just crazy. It's amazing. But fans weren't able to really celebrate with us at that game. They were able to celebrate the boat parade for sure. They did a lot of celebrating there, but they weren't able to celebrate with us at the game. So we celebrated our win in the off season. We had the boat parade, and then all throughout our marketing in the off season with renewals and, focusing on this year, we really spent February through August marketing and pounding our chests about winning the Super Bowl and putting banners and signs and content all related to that. Then as the regular season started to approach, our approach turned to, just like Brittany said, the same thing, the Lightning, where we're just focusing on the new season because this team, once kickoff happens this year, this team hasn't won the Super Bowl. It's a brand new team with some of the same players, but it's a different year. Mm-hmm. So at the regular season kickoff game in September, since we weren't able to celebrate with fans in the stadium last February when we won, we had a big kickoff event prior to the game where we celebrated the Super Bowl win. We had giant Lombardi trophies on the field. We had, lots of pyro, great videos. We unveiled the permanent signs in the stadium that, celebrated our win. And then kickoff happened, and then it changed. So we flipped our messaging. We're focused on the new season. We're not looking back on the championship. We're celebrating it from a perspective of we're still excited that we won, but from a marketing perspective, we're not out there saying any longer that, Super Bowl champions is not a focus. So now it's just, hopefully we can get to the playoffs and get to the Super Bowl again this year, and we'll be able to stay back to back as well.
Exactly. Well, thank you guys, both of you, for chatting. This has been really insightful and cool, and good luck the rest of the way this season.
Thank you
much.
And thank you all for watching. I'm Tim Nudd, and coming up next, we have a deeper dive into DUNN & Company's work for the Tampa Bay Lightning.
When I think back at working with the Lightning at the very beginning, they were an organization in transition because Mr. Jeff Vinik had just moved down from Boston. He just bought the team, and he began to put a lot of money. He was investing in not only the team, but the entire environment in which fans would go and have that experience.
We were all incredibly nervous because we wanted that business so bad. And it's crazy to think about how far we've come since that day. The market has completely transformed. The fans have completely transformed. And I would say, our agency has a bit as well.
And myself and everybody in Tampa Bay included was recognizing, okay, this guy means business. And very soon the team started to get quite a bit better.
We wanted it so bad because we knew how special it could be and how much potential there was to make amazing work.
It was great that we were hired about 10 years ago, right when Mr. Vinnick bought the team, so that we could kind of, in lockstep with him, transform the team. He transformed what was happening on the ice and the experience for the fans, and we transformed the messaging that Tampa Bay as a community began to see in and around the town. In 2011, when we first started working with the Lightning, we just jumped in with a campaign called Be the Thunder. And it was an amazing idea because it was a rallying cry. Be the Thunder. We're the Lightning team, but the Thunder is what follows the Lightning.
What does it mean for someone to wear an athlete's jersey? Is it supposed to be some kind of good luck charm? A way to be transported to the ice? Or feel like you've shown up in uniform? Maybe it's just a simple way for somebody to say, we're in this together.
The effort was more to acknowledge that we wanted people to be fans by being loud and being demonstrative, clapping, and when you're at a game, really give it your all. And it was during those years that we really wanted to make creative that was more traditional, but that was relevant to the community. And we tried to come up with really, really inventive things that hadn't been done. And the first thing that we ever did, kind of in that genre, was the slapshot billboard. On one side of the highway was a hockey player who was taking a slap shot, and the puck was going over I-275, the interstate, and it destroyed an outdoor board on the other side. And we got a lot of play off of that, and it won us our first Clio award, which we're super proud of.
The fans believed that when we asked them to be the Thunder, that they were supposed to cheer, which is in fact what we wanted them to do. But we realized that we needed them to do so much more if we were going to build a true community in this market.
We did this amazing exercise that resulted in a strategic framework that we call the fandom ladder.
And so we began to design work that could talk to fans at all of these different phases of the ladder, and we were setting out to simply get them to climb up one rung. Wherever they sat, increase your fandom by one level.
We needed these fans to wear lightning blue, to live the brand. Well, why weren't they?
We had to make Be the Thunder mean more than just cheering. It needed to be about how you spend your time.
So what were some of the challenges in doing that? Well, one of the challenges was large market fans, hockey fans, would wear their market's jerseys to the Lightning game.
I always felt that the Distant Thunder campaign was about fans outside of our borders, but it did the most for the fans within this community.
If we don't think that we're worthy of letting a fan outside of our market wear a jersey, we're never gonna really bleed blue for the Tampa Bay Lightning. So we came up with a great idea, and it was called Distant Thunder.
Niekedy potrebujeme na život novú perspektívu. Spoznať nových ľudí a vidieť nové miesta. A toto je dôvod, prečo som prišla sem. Keď som sem prišla, nemala som so sebou veľa vecí. Iba jeden malý kufor a tento model robí Tampa Bay Lightning. My name is Evi Červenková, and I'm a Lightning fan who lives in Bali.
Distant Thunder was a campaign totally built around the idea that other people outside of this market, even outside of this country, were Tampa Bay Lightning fans. And they showed their fandom and they waved it high and they wore their jersey in public. And when we could document that story and bring it back and show Tampa fans that out-of-market fans felt this way about the team?
Because it bolstered their sense of pride and their sense of place and made them feel proud to be part of this community that stretched so far outside of Tampa Bay.
Mi chiamo Fabio Sorini, sono un giornalista sportivo e sono un tifoso dei Lightning che vive a Torino, in Italia.
Meu nome é Rafael Amarante. Eu tenho 27 anos. Eu sou professor no Rio Grande do Sul, Brasil.
My name is Callum Brown. I'm a logistics specialist in the Royal New Zealand Air Force, and I'm a Lightning fan who lives in Auckland, New Zealand. We are the global Lightning fans, the distant thunder. My name is Callum Brown from New Zealand, and I'm proud to be the Thunder.
It was amazing. We were building all of this momentum. My goodness, the wind was at our back, and we get to this point where we are the best team in hockey. On paper, we are the best team in hockey. We have the best records, we have the best team, we're winning the most MVP awards, all of our players are winning individual awards, and the pandemic starts.
I remember the day in March that I turned on the news and they said the NBA has canceled all their games. And I thought, crap, I know exactly what is coming next and we have a big problem on our hands.
Prepare to play games without fans.
Without fans?
What's it going to be like without fans?
I think it sucks. Am I allowed to say that?
I remember getting the call that hockey was coming back. And it was time for us to tackle this very difficult challenge of figuring out how to make our fans feel connected to a team that would be on the other side of our continent.
And that began a renaissance in DUNN & Company's creative thinking and bringing platforms to the Lightning.
The strategy line for the All On Board campaign was apart but never absent.
They allowed fans, the Lightning did, to come down at the end of July and sign the glass.
400 fans, they signed this 8-foot-tall glass panel from the hockey rink, and it is now installed in Toronto.
All their fans signed the glass. They brought it here.
If you signed that, you were at that game today.
I feel like I'm going with them.
Never seen this done in sports before.
Just awesome to have that support, and the fans took the time to go out and sign that, so that's pretty special.
The pandemic remained. The next idea we had was something called Tweet Tape. And Tweet Tape was just born out of a continued notion of how can we connect fans with the players in the organization when they can't be there in person.
It was taking fan comments, transporting them to where the players are, and using them to unite emotionally the spirits of our fans and the spirits of our players.
Twitter account asked followers to tweet their words of encouragement to the players using the hashtag #TweetTape. Some of the tweets have been printed into the tape used for sticks and pucks. The Bolts shared new pics today of the team seeing some of those messages.
Their players have always been accessible to fans. They interact well with the community. The Lightning have gone above and beyond to make sure that connection still exists.
It's been really difficult not going to games and being there in the stands.
I just thought it was a really cool gesture by the team to acknowledge all the fans being the distant thunder this year.
The Lightning win the Stanley Cup! They have reached the top of the mountain! They are the Stanley Cup champs!
Knowing that we had won the Stanley Cup and we had access to the Stanley Cup, we created an initiative where you could spend the night with the cup.
If you think about it, Airbnb Bolts was really only for one family who could experience it, but the ripple effect that we got from the buzz that was created in the community, the people who were talking in bars about, did you hear, you could stay the night with the Stanley Cup in this little thing they're calling Airbnb Bolts, that's what we really needed. We needed the community talking post-season about that win. Because the win is a moment in time, and we needed to keep feeling that energy after the season ended.
You can snuggle up next to Lord Stanley with a sweet setup.
The Bolts have transformed one of the luxury lofts at Amalie Arena into an Airbnb, but only for one night.
The ultimate hockey sleepover will include a 5-course meal, a champagne happy hour, a chance to skate on the ice, and they can even ride the Zamboni and set off the famed Tesla coils. The night will end with a movie on Lightning Vision. And did we get to mention they get to do all of this with the Stanley Cup right by their side as they sleep?
So now I have 2 cups. What do you do with 2 cups? If 1 cup gives you the right to talk with more confidence, what do you do with 2 cups?
In all these years working with the Lightning, they are the most humble organization. They never really want to tout themselves. But when you win a back-to-back Stanley Cup, you have to acknowledge you have something special right now. And so it was time to bring a little swagger to the forefront in our messaging and our advertising. And the way we did that was we had a campaign called Lightning, Thunder, Rain.
We wanted to find a unique way to drive this point home. So we partnered with Seattle-based company Rainworks to create an outdoor billboard using special hydrochromic ink that reveals a hidden message which would only appear on rainy days. That message, here comes the rain. The key is the ink's ability to become translucent when wet, revealing whatever artwork has been printed on the vinyl underneath. We used it to cover the headline and posted the board during Tampa Bay's rainy season. Luckily, the out-of-home gods were smiling down on us. It rained the day the billboard was installed, bringing the Lightning's reign as Stanley Cup champs to life like never before. According to Outfront, the outdoor company, this is the first time in North America that a billboard has used hydrochromic ink. It took a lot of effort to pull it off, but an unprecedented championship deserves a first-of-its-kind celebration.
Lightning, Thunder, Rain allows our community to own the Lightning status, not only locally, but to stake our claim in the ground nationally. We've made it. We officially have arrived.
To make work that moves people is the reason that this agency exists. It's why I opened the place. And the Lightning opportunity gives all of us the chance to do exactly that day in and day out. To make people feel something, to make people believe in something so much that they're gonna give their everything to it. And this agency does that for the Lightning, just like the Lightning does it for the fans.
They're not just our clients, they're our friends, they're part of our life, and they're our teammates in this journey to make amazing work that people talk about and remember.